All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk, Uygur, Anna Kasparian with you guys. Did Anna comment on my tan yet? No, she hasn't. Okay.
The homeboy walks in like 2 minutes before showtime, asks me a billion questions about the show, and wants to know why I didn't ask about his tan. Cenk, lovely tan you got there. How was your vacation?
Well, Anna, you know what? I really want to save it for the last half hour. That's just for members. Okay.
Right,
so if you want to find out how Hawaii went, and I have strong points of view even on vacations. TYT.com/trial. So you can get the last half hour. We call it a post game, as most of you know. All right, become a member and support us too. All right, so we'll do that later. I got Ro Khanna coming up as a guest later in the third hour as well. That's for everybody. And Betsy Sweet, the new Just Democratic candidate that is going to challenge Susan Collins for that Maine Senate seat. She's on the show today, so don't miss any of that. But Anna did say that I come in here today with a fresh mind. That's all I'm about. I'm about a fresh mind, okay?
I can't with you right now. Okay?
She just can't. She can't, but nonetheless, we have to for another 3 hours. I'm back, baby.
Yeah.
All right. So now, let's rip into Republicans.
All right.
Omar has a history of launching vicious anti-Semitic screeds.
Trump rally-goers chanted "send her back" as Trump viciously attacked Representative Ilhan Omar, a member of Congress who's already a target for rabid right-wingers in America. The rally in North Carolina highlighted the core of Donald Trump's re-election campaign, which is to exploit racial tensions and divisions within the United States. It was a difficult, video to watch, but I think it's important to take a look at who Trump really is. And at this point, if you support Donald Trump, after all of this, take a good hard look at who you are.
Yeah, so I've got a couple points about that. I know you're surprised. So number one, I know it's really hard for the media, and we've been over this a couple times. We watch regularly, but it wasn't Trump chanting; it was the voters chanting.
Don't care.
No. I don't say that as a defense of Donald Trump. I say it as an indictment of the Republican voters.
Oh, absolutely.
They keep saying it like Trump is some sort of anomaly. He was picked out of 17 different Republicans who were running. It wasn't an accident. And well over 70% of Republicans still support him. In fact, we're gonna show you in a little bit that his support among Republicans went up after he made the racist comments about the 4 Just Democrats that he's alluding to, and Ilhan Omar, etc. And it wasn't him chanting, it was the crowd chanting. It's not like Trump was saying, hey, send her back, and everybody's like, oh, that's uncomfortable, don't say that. We're not gonna participate in that. No, they were like, yes, send her back. So look, I'm honestly tired about talking about race, but we can't get out of it. We can't get out of it because the guy says horrible things, and then the crowd's like, yes, send her back. And so when they do those things, we are like obligated to point out what they're doing and how un-American it is. Let's put aside race. The whole point of the country is we all come together. Remember the melting pot, etc. And we're all Americans, and it doesn't matter where we're from. In Germany back in the 1930s, it mattered deeply what your race was, and it was all about race. And it has been almost entirely throughout history. America made a giant change when we said it will not be about race, it will not be about religion. Anybody can come here. So if you're opposed to that, and obviously the Republican voters they're just, as a matter of ideology, less American than the rest of us. And so you got to call it out. They call it out based on nonsense. They call it out based on race. We got to call it out based on ideology.
Just keep in mind that Donald Trump has recognized that demagoguing is a successful campaign technique. What else is he gonna run on? What has he really done? What has he really accomplished for his base? He can argue that he's improved the economy, but his base knows that the economy was improved for a very select few in the US. Those who are at the very top got that massive tax return, tax cut, whereas the middle of America voters who supposedly, allegedly voted for him because of their economic frustrations, many of them actually saw a tax increase and cuts in certain social services that they needed. So what is he gonna run on? Of course, what he's gonna do is fearmonger and just straight up lie about progressives in the Democratic Party. Make no mistake about it, he's about to do that here, and we're going to debunk his lies about Ilhan Omar when we get back from this clip.
So Representative Omar blamed the United States for the terrorist attacks on our country. She smeared US service members involved in Black Hawk Down. In other words, she slandered the brave Americans who were trying to keep peace in Somalia. Omar minimized the September 11th attacks on our homeland, saying some people did something. I don't think so. She pleaded for compassion for ISIS recruits attempting to join the terrorist organization. She was looking for compassion. Omar laughed that Americans speak of Al-Qaeda in a menacing tone and remarked that you don't say America with this intensity. You say Al-Qaeda makes you proud. Al-Qaeda makes you proud. You don't speak that way about America. And at a press conference just this week, when asked whether she supported Al-Qaeda, that's our enemy. That's our enemy. They are a very serious problem that we take care of, but they always seem to come along somewhere. She refused to answer. She didn't want to give an answer to that question.
Everything he said in that clip was a straight out lie. It was brazen, and I'm going to debunk. First of all, let's start with Al-Qaeda. So if Al-Qaeda is really our enemy, Donald Trump, why are you selling weapons to Saudi Arabia and the UAE, which then transfers those weapons to members of Al-Qaeda? Why are you doing that? Saudi Arabia, very supportive of Al-Qaeda. Why are we giving them weapons?
Yeah,
and she never said she supports Al-Qaeda, ever, that was a lie.
So look, Al-Qaeda is our enemy, and so is Saudi Arabia in a lot of ways. The only reason they're our ally is because of oil, but in every other way, they have American blood on their hands. They're the ones that not only 15 out of the 19 hijackers were Saudis. Funny enough, we didn't invade Saudi Arabia, we invaded a random country named Iraq. That had nothing to do with 9/11, but on top of that, they funded this Sunni insurgency in Iraq, got thousands of our troops killed. So that's a fact, but hey, Trump said, why would I be angry at the Saudis? They pay a lot of money for my condos and for my apartments. So if anyone is friendly with Al-Qaeda, it's Donald Trump. So that's just the reality, because he's in bed with, and you saw him. I mean, the Saudi monarchy has the same ideology as Al-Qaeda. They chop hands, they chop heads, and they just chopped the head off of a Washington Post columnist. And Donald Trump said, I don't care, it's about the money. So there is one person in that equation who is fairly closely tied to allies of Al-Qaeda, and it is definitely Donald Trump. Whereas Ilhan Omar says, let's cut off our ties with the Saudis. She's against Muslim fundamentalist governments like Saudi Arabia that support Al-Qaeda. So that's the reality, but he's endangering her life by getting a bunch of radical, insane, lunatic right-wingers in this country to think that she's Al-Qaeda because she wears a hijab, and Donald Trump told him. And he said, look, I can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. This is almost rhetorically shooting Ilhan Omar on Fifth Avenue and seeing if he can get away with it.
Yeah, 100%. And it is fascinating to see that Donald Trump has such strong feelings about Al-Qaeda when earlier this week he couldn't even spell Al-Qaeda correctly in his notes before his press conference.
Of course, because he's a child.
He's a child, he doesn't care about Al-Qaeda, he doesn't care about real terrorism. I mean, he is a terrorist. He is terrorizing freshman members of Congress by putting a target on their backs every day this week. That he has attacked them every day this week. He has fear-mongered about them. And considering the fact that we've already had people arrested, Cesar Sayoc being one example, for putting out pipe bombs, sending pipe bombs to people who Donald Trump is fear-mongered about, maybe we should really reconsider the consequences for someone like Donald Trump. Maybe Pelosi, right, gave her credit this week for voting in favor of condemning him in that resolution vote. But maybe you need to go a little further, because at this point, he's literally putting Congress people in the line of danger by fear-mongering about them and straight up lying about who they are and what they've said.
When I was gonna go to the pipe bomber too. So when the guy sends pipe bombs to all of Trump's enemies, and then Trump goes, oh, okay, now let me double down and give you more specific commands on who you should target, with no hesitation at all, like, whoa, oh my God, I can't believe my words are dangerous because somebody hears me, and some of them get all riled up about the Jews and shoot up a synagogue. Some get riled up about Muslims and attack mosques. And that guy sent a pipe bomb to people in the press and to my political enemies, and like that should be a cause for concern if you're the president. My God, people are taking my words in the wrong direction. I should be careful. No. Doubles down, triples down, and goes, oh, okay, good. Let me send you a new list. And remember, they're working with Al-Qaeda. They're working with Al-Qaeda. Is anybody ever gonna do anything about it? Make sure you go get them, right? So that's who Donald Trump is. Total, utter monster.
So I wanna point out, what the polls say about Donald Trump and how his voters feel about his brazen racism, his transparent racism. Before I do so though, I just wanted to make a point about just a short section of the Hill's reporting on this, because they mentioned something that I actually disagree with. They write, the audience's boisterous reaction was reminiscent of the lock her up chants Trump supporters used against former Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. Now, while I really disagreed with that chant, lock her up, I mean, it was disgusting, and it was also incredibly ironic since a criminal was leading chants about locking someone else up. It's different with someone like Representative Omar, because she's already a target and you already have unhinged lunatics threatening her life on a daily basis. She's a woman of color who has very little protection, right? So Hillary Clinton had Secret Service surrounding her at all times. Hillary Clinton's life was not in danger the way that her life, Representative Ilhan Omar's life, is in danger. So I hate this idea of drawing this equivalency. While both acts were disgusting and both acts were wrong, I think that the weight in which this recent story, like the weight that it carries, is more significant. It's more serious. Again, her life is actually in danger. She doesn't have the type of security or the resources for the type of security that Hillary Clinton had. So I just wanted to point that out. Maybe that's an irrelevant point, but it just stood out to me because, again.
No, it's not irrelevant. I'm worried about her. Anybody with a conscience is worried about her. People without a conscience, I don't know what they're rooting for.
Yeah, so let's go to the poll and just talk about how Donald Trump's approval rating's doing among Republicans. More than 20% of registered voters in North Carolina, by the way, I just want to note, are black. And the state backed former President Obama back in 2008. So I don't know if this is gonna be a smart political strategy for him in the state of North Carolina, but we'll see. And then
So that's where the rally was being held, but the poll's a national one.
Yes, so the national poll was done by Reuters Ipsos. Let's go to graphic 4. Republican support for President Trump has increased 5 points in a Reuters Ipsos poll since he suggested a group of minority progressive lawmakers go back where they came from. Now, luckily, his approval has dropped when it comes to independent voters, and of course, Democratic voters as well. About 3 in 10 independent voters now say they approve of Trump, down from 4 in 10 last week.
All right, so really relevant information here in 2 different directions. One is the bad news, which is Republicans said, oh, you're singling out women who are all US citizens and US congressmen and telling them to go back to where they came from based on what? Based on race. Great, we love that. Racism wasn't the bug, it was the feature. That's why we picked Trump out of 17 people, because the others were doing dog whistles and were too stupid for dog whistles, whereas the other guy just said it, and I was like, yeah, I like that. Yeah, send back black people and Arabs to where they came from. Now, let's just note for a second that I don't have a great impression of Republican voters. That's true.
It sounded pretty accurate to me.
No, I don't mean it as in how they sound. Like, I don't have I don't have a lot of good feelings towards Republican voters this day and age, okay? But it's based on the polling. It's based on what they're saying and what they're chanting, etc. But let's note for a second the irony here. He mentioned the 4 women that they should all go back. Now, 3 of them were born in America, so if he wants AOC to go back to the Bronx, mission accomplished. She's in the Bronx and she's the congresswoman for the Bronx. So but he included all 4, not just Ilhan Omar, who was born outside the country. Of course, I gotta say, because I was born outside the country and all naturalized citizens, and there's millions of us in America. We are no less citizens than anyone else. We are 100% American. If you don't like it, take it up with the Constitution, okay? And by the way, if you don't believe in the Constitution, you're un-American. So that's that. But let's talk about Ocasio-Cortez. Her mom was born in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is part of the United States. So again, nothing to go back to. But Donald Trump's mom was not born in America. She was born in Scotland. That is a part of a different country altogether, not a US territory, not anything related to us in any way, shape, or form. Nobody ever says Donald Trump should go back, right? Now, Ocasio-Cortez's father born here, Trump's father born here. But they have a little bit of a similarity, except her mother's from here, his mother is not. And he never thinks of it that way, like, I should go back to Scotland. First of all, Scotland, I'm so sorry. I know you don't want him back, okay?
Real quick, Melania's parents just became US citizens.
And she's obviously from Slovenia herself. There's considerable controversy about their immigration and how they got here. And it appears Melania and her parents lied on their forms, but no one ever goes further with that because, hey, why? Come on, it's so obvious, you know it too. Even if you're MAGA, you know it. Well, Scotland, Scotland's us. No, it's not. Okay, but we're progressives, we're inclusive. I love that people came from Scotland. I love that people came from Slovenia, right? But you can't have it both ways. So the bad news is Republicans, yes, even though you hate it and it triggers you, you are going to those stereotypes because they're in the back of your head if they're not in the front of your head, okay? So now, the good news. People skate past it and they just mentioned in a couple of the articles like, oh, and then the support dropped from 4 out of 10 independents to 3 out of 10 independents. What are you talking about? 30% of independents supporting you is a disaster. Trump is deeply unpopular. The only reason why he's at 41%, which is already a terrible number, but he's not in the 30s, is because Republicans are like, yes, right? But guys, 41 favorable, 55 unfavorable in that poll. If a Democrat was 41-55, I'd be like, we got to primary him because he's gonna lose. He's definitely gonna lose the general election. We got to go with a primary right now. But since they think he's Teflon, and they think, well, he hasn't been fired and Pelosi won't impeach him, so I guess there's never any consequences, right? And he did get elected. No, you're missing it. Independents hate him. Democrats hate him even more. He has no support. And even among Republicans, the numbers went up. But I was surprised to see that it was only 72%. He'd been as high as the 90s. And in other polls, he's still in the 80s, but 72% among Republicans.
Yeah, so there was
he's a goner, man.
I hate when anyone says that because
I know we're all traumatized by 2016.
We can't get overconfident.
No, but Anna, let me just say, look, yes, we can't get overconfident and put up an establishment Democrat just like Hillary Clinton, who lost to him last time. Okay. But the rest of the media uses it as, well, you better vote for Joe Biden because Trump's about to win. Trump's about to win, you better vote for Joe Biden. It's not remotely true. Every one of these guys is gonna crush Trump. But the question is, what kind of Democrat do you want? What kind of president do you want? And it's like, and my job is to keep it real with you. When I thought he could win, what did I say over and over again? Brace for impact, right? In this case, I'm telling you, he's a weakling. America hates Donald Trump. The media is giving you a skewed perspective on this because they're making it look 50-50 by stacking cable news with wall-to-wall Trump supporters.
So one other thing I wanted to add, just looking to the future, now that we know who Republican voters are, they overwhelmingly support Donald Trump. His racism is not the bug, it's the feature. We've been over this over and over again. So what does this mean for the future? So let's say we do elect a Democrat, but then in the future, what kind of Republican is gonna run for president, right? Knowing that this is the base, this is the Republican base, this is the kind of behavior they reward. And if you're a principled politician on the right who speaks out against this disgusting rhetoric and behavior, you get punished electorally.
Yeah, but that also spells doom for the Republican Party. I know you're gonna think I'm overly optimistic, but guys, when you lose 7 out of 10 independents, your party is in a world of trouble. Look, the Democrats picked up over 40 seats in the House. Why? Was it an accident? No, because the Republicans are in a world of trouble. So Anna's right, they can't win primaries unless they go towards race and making that dog whistle into a human whistle and flat out saying terrible things or supporting guys who are saying terrible things. They can't win in the primaries. So then they have to put up monsters in the general election. Look at what they did in Alabama. They put up Roy Moore. Knowing what he did, they put up Roy Moore.
It's
and
amazing.
so
it's amazing.
And they even lost in Alabama. They lost in Alabama because they can't help themselves because the primary voters are that vicious and the independents hate them. So they're in a world of trouble going into the future. Do not settle. Go progressive right now because we got them on the ropes. And they're totally on our side, especially on economic issues. And we got to go right now and press that advantage.
We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to give you the Republican response to what Trump did yesterday. And then later in the show, we are going to discuss what the latest is in the Jeffrey Epstein case.
And one more thing, guys, really great announcement, including about some of those Just Democrats when we come back. It's wonderful news. I want to share it with you when we return. We hope you're enjoying this free clip from the Young Turks. If you want to get the whole show and more exclusive content while supporting independent media, become a member at tyt.com/join today. In the meantime, enjoy this free segment. All right, back on the Young Turks. We're having fun here, okay?
Are we?
I think so.
You're so like, you've been dying to come back on the show. Like,
of course.
We've been at this all week. It's been devastating. I'm tired.
No. It's time for us to devastate them.
I'm okay. I'm in favor of that.
In fact, I'll go to Twitter first because it's related to that. M. Yashin Chakmak, which actually his last name is perfect for this because it kind of means to spark a fire. Says it's midnight on a work day in Switzerland, but with what's going on in the news cycle, I could not wait until morning to see Cenk's fiery return. Welcome back, brother. Give him hell.
Oh, Switzerland. That sounds so nice right now.
Well, that's a good point, but check, mission accomplished, and we're just getting started. And finally, Meg says Ilhan Omar has been a US citizen longer than Melania Trump. Good point, as always, by our members, tyt.com/trial, become a member. All right, great news, guys. We have more people who have signed the pledge. Now over 25,000 of you have already signed. We've got a whole bunch of people running for Congress and Senate who have signed. You know, of course, the 4 presidential candidates who have signed, like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Marianne Williamson, Mike Gravel, etc. But now we have new Congress people. Just signed Ilhan Omar. I think I have that somewhere, don't I? So I'm going to remind you guys who don't know what the pledge is, what it is in a second, but also signing the Progressive Pledge, Rashida Tlaib. So you see it right there. The 5 pillars of the pledge are higher wages, including the $15 minimum wage, which the House just passed.
Yes.
Which we're going to talk about later in the show. Green New Deal, college for all, Medicare for all, and ending the private financing of elections, ending the corruption that is in Washington. Super proud to have those Justice Democrats sign the Progressive Pledge as well. In fact, Rashida Tlaib gave a fantastic quote about why she signed, and I want to read it to you guys. She said, signing on to TYT's Progressive Economic Pledge was an easy choice for me because it aligns so clearly with the values of the people I represent. I was elected by a broad and diverse coalition of residents of Michigan's 13th district to fight back against growing economic inequality, the continued destruction of our planet, and the corporate assault on our democracy. Man, I love these words.
Yes.
All right, she continues, I represent the 3rd poorest district in the nation where the damage that low wages, unaffordable education and healthcare, environmental pollution and degradation, and unaccountable representation have done to our communities has been devastating. I have a mandate to fight economic inequality, clean up our communities, fight climate change, and restore our democracy for the people. I'm so proud to be joined in these battles by the Young Turks and their huge grassroots network, community advocates, and activists working for real progressive change across the country. That's you guys.
Yes.
She's proud to be part of you guys. That's awesome. I love that.
So I didn't know you were going to do this update today, and it came up, in the middle of the day as I was producing the rest of the show. And I'm glad that it came up, because at a time when you feel that despair creeping in again, and I talk about that a lot on the show, where you feel like sometimes it's hopeless. You fight for change, and you've been fighting for change way longer, like since 2002 when you started the show. And sometimes you sit back and you ask yourself, does it even matter? Is there any progress at all? And these Justice Democrats honestly inspire me, inspire the rest of the progressives in this country, and keep people going. They keep me going. Like, just reading that quote, like, it gave me chills, like in the best possible way.
Absolutely. And look, so we get tired of hearing stories of both Republicans and far too often Democrats who go, well, I mean, should we really go all the way in healthcare? I mean, it's over 30 million people uninsured, but why don't we tweak it? Why don't we tweak it, right? And corruption, whoa, I don't know about that. And look, as some other Democrats will say, I'm kind of for those things. There's a range of options of what I'm for. That's why we came up with a pledge to clarify. It's so refreshing to hear uncorrupted people who are now our representatives going, no, I'm gonna fight for these things. I don't just believe in them, I'm gonna fight for them. And that's what the pledge says, I'm gonna fight for all 5 of these things. And so, and speaking of Just Democrats, the first 2 people to sign the pledge ever, and in here we could put up a lot of the supporters there that have signed already, were Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ro Khanna. So 2 of the first Just Democrats ever. And then the presidential candidates came in, and then other Congress people like Jamie Raskin came in, and we're going and going and going. And again, over 25,000 people have signed. But you guys, please keep signing, because the more people that have signed, the more power progressives have. And people realize those are the voters. And I love that she's calling out Young Turks activists. You call it TYT Army, that's what we call it. But you guys made this happen, and so thank you. And let's keep it going at tyt.com/pledge. And it's a good day in America. Look, this is the beginning of a real coalition that could vote together and actually get these bills passed. And this is how we do it.
All right, let's go from an uplifting story to a not so uplifting story. Following Donald Trump's rally in North Carolina, where he fear-mongered about Representative Ilhan Omar and a chant by rally goers indicating that they want to, quote, send her back, he has now provided plausible deniability for anyone in the right wing who gets confronted with questions about Trump's racism. So what's the plausible deniability? Here's Trump pretending as if he's not a racist.
When your supporters last night were chanting send her back, why didn't you stop them? Why didn't you ask them to stop saying that?
Well, number one, I think I did. I started speaking very quickly. It really was a loud, I disagree with it, by the way, but it was quite a chant. And I felt a little bit badly about it. But I will say this, I did, and I started speaking very quickly, but it started up rather fast, as you probably noticed.
So you'll tell your supporters never to say that again?
I would say that. I was not happy with it. I disagree with it. But again, I didn't say that, they did, but I disagree with it.
But they were echoing what you said in your first tweet, that they should go back.
Well, I don't think if you examine it, I don't think you'll find that. What I would suggest I was not happy with it, but what I would suggest, you go there, go to North Carolina, and you ask the people, why did they say that? But that's what they said.
So of course, Trump has said that they should go back to their countries, not only in the form of a tweet where he specified countries, but also in various media appearances. We have a mashup that I want to show real quick, and then Cenk, I want your thoughts. Take a look.
If you're not happy here, then you can leave. As far as I'm concerned, all I'm saying is if they want to leave, they can leave, John. They can leave. Very simply, you can leave. You can leave right now. And all I'm saying that if they're not happy here, they can leave. If you're not happy, you can leave. If you're not happy here, you can leave. And that's what I say all the time. That's what I said in a tweet, which I guess some people think is controversial. A lot of people love it, by the way. A lot of people love it. They can leave, and you know what? I'm sure that there'll be many people that won't miss them. These are people that if they don't like it here, they can leave.
Again, I didn't say that. They did. Go to North Carolina, and you ask the people why did they say that, but that's what they said.
All right, I love that because it's classic Trump in two different ways. One is, I didn't say that, and then he's on video saying it about 20 times, right? We have the video, and it's not like we had to dig into the archives. That was a couple of days ago. Don't you remember saying it? Don't you remember the tweets that you sent that started this whole thing? Where do you think they got it in their head to send her back? They got it from your tweets and your comments. Anyway, he's pathological, absolutely pathological in terms of how he lies and how often he lies. Before I get to the second point.
Yeah, I have to respond to that quickly. I know it grates on your nerves when anyone tries to allege that Trump has any type of strategy whatsoever. And I hear you, he's a doofus and it's hard to believe that there's anything going on in that mind of his. However, I think he knows that people can compare the tapes and see what he really said, but he's surrounded by yes men. The GOP is surrounded by, or is basically filled with people who want to cite something that Trump said so they can argue that he's not racist, right? So what are they gonna do? What is the conservative media gonna do? You think they're gonna show tape of what he really said? No, they're just gonna use the tape of what you just saw, right? Which is, no, I hated it, it was very bad. I started speaking very quickly. I didn't agree with it. That's what they're gonna cite, Cenk, because they know that people are in their little media bubbles, right? People either only consume conservative media or left-wing media. Left-wing media, you get what I'm saying.
Us.
Yeah.
Anyway, so look, I hear you, but there's no strategy. He just says one thing that he thought that was advantageous on Tuesday, and he says something else on Thursday because obviously his advisors told him, "Oh, the polling's disastrous. Now 7 out of 10 independents hate you." And you might lose North Carolina. Oh, what? I didn't say it. They said it, which leads me to point number 2. And I told you guys this from day 1 too. The Republican voters, you are the last suckers. So he has treated everyone in his life like suckers. Oh, come to Trump University. I'll teach you about real estate. I'll be there. No, I'll send a cardboard cutout of me, right? Oh, donate to my charity and I will use it for charity. Use it to settle my legal bills and buy portraits of myself. And for Republican voters, you just saw him do it with your own eyes. He threw you under the bus. If you were part of his rally, he said, I don't know, go ask them. They're the ones who chanted it. I was unhappy with it. They're the ones who chanted it, ask them. In other words, it's my voters' fault, it's not my fault. And when he loses the next election, by the way, he is definitely gonna say that too, and he's gonna blame you guys for everything. You think he won't turn on MAGA?
By the way, if that happens, awesome.
It is.
Right?
He can't help himself.
I hope that day comes when he is, booted out of office by voters. It'd be great if Pelosi did something about it, but okay, we have to wait till the election. But more importantly, if he does turn on them, I would love nothing more. I mean, he's done that to so many people close to him, so many.
I guarantee you that he thinks MAGA guys are losers.
Of course he does.
And of course he said that in private, right?
He said it publicly too.
He said it on a couple of occasions, very close things that are reported to that phraseology, right? And if he loses, he's got to have an out, and there's going to be no outs.
Yep.
And because he thinks I am rich, so even though his dad gave him everything, so I am worthy. These guys, they're just suckers to be used like I've used every other sucker. They're a bunch of losers. And he's too stupid and pathological not to say it at some point when he gets especially bitter.
What I think is so interesting though is, look, I get the questions about the chant, but there's so much more emphasis on the chant as opposed to what he said during that rally. They're just the brazen lies about these congresswomen, and especially Representative Ilhan Omar. So how come none of those reporters asked, all right, so you lied about Ilhan Omar's alleged support for Al-Qaeda, but it seems like you support Al-Qaeda because you sell weapons to Saudi Arabia and those weapons end up in the hands of Al-Qaeda. Do you have anything to say about that? right? How come they don't ask him those questions? Because first of all, the lies that he's telling about people and the fear mongering is what leads to the behavior we're seeing by the voters. So instead of cleaning up the blood or trying to figure out, what you can do about the blood, let's do something about the gushing wound that is Donald Trump in this case.
Yeah, I want the reporters next to go do what Trump asked them to do. Go to North Carolina. And I don't know how you're gonna find the people at that rally, but ask random Republicans if you have to. Trump blamed you, said it was your fault for chanting "send her back," and that he didn't encourage you, and he tried to move on because he thought you were so wrong. How do you feel about that?
You know what? I was so wrong. He's right. Trump is right. I'm an idiot.
You know what? He could shoot me on.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I know. He could shoot me on Fifth Avenue. I'd be okay with it. Is the probable answer.
So look, I mentioned Trump providing, plausible deniability because members of Congress, Republican members of Congress, want to be able to continue supporting him and also argue that he's not really a racist. And so one by one, you have these despicable people lined up in defense of Donald Trump. I want to start off with Lindsey Graham.
To other naturalized American citizens that a predominantly white crowd is chanting, "Send her back."
Here's what I think. I think the president is playing on the 1968 love it or leave it. I've said before that if you're a Somali refugee wearing a MAGA hat, he doesn't want to send you back. You probably have dinner at the White House. What does that tell me? That it's about the criticism and the critic.
Okay, so if you disagree with Trump politically and you happen to be a naturalized citizen, then he'd want to send you back.
Now let's see if we could use that same logic with a different precedent. If Obama said, hey, listen, if you disagree with me, I'm gonna send you back. So Trump's mom is from Scotland, I'm sending him back, okay?
Yeah, or Trump's in-laws, Trump's wife.
Yeah, could you imagine if Obama was like, I'm thinking of deporting Melania.
Over the birtherism. Why not?
Yeah, and look, she disagrees with the president, and she didn't put on an Obama hat. So I want to send her back. What do you think Lindsey Graham and the Republican reaction would have been? Oh my God, Obama's being dictatorial. They want to control every part of our lives and going after poor people that are white like Melania. How dare they, and attacking their political opponents in these ways. We told you they were Marxists and they were coming. Come on.
What Lindsey Graham did there was he blamed the victim, right? So Donald Trump has made Representative Ilhan Omar a target. And if anything happens to her, just remember that Senator Lindsey Graham blamed the victim. It's her fault for disagreeing with the president in a democracy or an alleged democracy. It's disgusting. Then you have Representative Mark Walker, who said, though it was brief, I struggled. He struggled. I struggled with the "send her back" chant tonight, referencing Representative Omar. Her history, words, and actions reveal her great disdain for both America and Israel. That should be our focus, not phrasing that's painful to our friends in the minority communities. I got news for you. All your words are painful to minority communities. Don't pretend like you have friends in minority communities.
Now, to be fair to the representative, that was actually one of the most outspoken against Donald Trump.
How depressing is that?
And he's like, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna smear Ilhan Omar like he is, even though what Donald Trump said about her is a billion times worse. I don't think, I think most of Ilhan Omar's words have been mischaracterized anyway, and saying she's, as other now Republicans are saying, she's anti-Semitic anyway, so it's what? So it's okay? No, she's not anti-Semitic. She did not say things like, loyalty test. All that is garbage, okay? And here they are anyway. Let's blame the victim first, but maybe we shouldn't have been as bigoted as we were against her, but just a tweak.
So I want to show you one more video. This is Kevin McCarthy. I mean, you can guess what he has to say.
Why is it a problem when people chant it, but not when the president tweets it?
The president did not. The president clarified very clearly that he did not tell somebody. He talked about the love of this country.
No, he said they should.
No, he clarified inside his tweet. If you want to read the clarification of his tweet, he talked about the love of this country and said, if you don't love this country, you can leave.
You really think these lawmakers don't love their country?
I didn't say they didn't love their country. They have all the rights of their country to the same point. The president did not name the individual. He said, if you do not like this country, you can leave. I didn't get to see the rally, but I saw a clip. The president didn't join in any chant like that. And I think it's really wrong that you would even challenge this president when you look at the first lady is foreign-born as well.
Yeah, the first lady is also a super attractive model who he married, and she's white. Like, let's just keep it real. Jesus Christ.
I think it's wrong that you challenge the president. It's true, Kevin McCarthy, when Obama was president, never challenged the president.
Never. You have to respect the office of the president.
That's right. He said,
just have to.
What do you need? What do you need? Affordable Care Act. Yeah, I'd be happy to do it. Kevin McCarthy, of course, now the leader of the Republicans in the House. He was #2 at the time, #3 for a while. And of course, he challenged Obama every day. He said outrageous things about Obama every single day. Now that it's Trump in the office, you can't challenge the president like that. It's outrageous. And then his excuses were hilarious. Like, well, he didn't name the individuals. Yeah, he did. He specifically referenced the 4 Justice Democratic Congresswomen, Tlaib, Omar, AOC, and Presley. He specifically talked about them. Well, he didn't say send them back. Yeah, he did. He said they should leave.
Yep.
And he's go back to their own countries where things are disastrous, etc. So he said all those things. Now, look, the thing is, the overwhelming majority of politicians have no courage. So if you weren't beholden to Trump or you weren't beholden to the donors, etc. This is actually really easy to answer. Because remember, I was a Republican growing up. I was a liberal Republican, and that actually existed back then. It doesn't exist anymore. But what that was people who were not racist, who were not against gay people, etc., who didn't want to control your sex life or what you're gonna do with your body, but who had conservative economic principles. And the answer was easy. Oh yeah, that was an outrageous thing for Trump to say, and I don't agree with him on that. I agree with him on if he were to balance the budget. He doesn't agree to that either. But anyway, I agree with him on this, and this, right? But I don't agree with him on that. And you move on. But no, why is McCarthy saying, don't primary me, okay? I'm good with Trump. Trump wants to be, racist, no problem, I'm good with him, I'm good. I mean, you could see it there. That's so sniveling, that's so sad. Remember, most of these politicians are not leaders, they're followers.
Yes, it's all about political expediency, and more importantly, this is exactly why Representative Doug Collins lost it when Nancy Pelosi specifically referred to Donald Trump's comments as racist. Because if that's in the record and you vote against condemning Trump in that House resolution vote, well then you're essentially saying that you subscribe to that racism, right? You don't want that in the record. Anyway, they're racist, they wanna have their cake and eat it too, right? They're either racist or they're incredibly weak and they're doing what they can to remain in office. They care about their political career more than doing what's right and taking a principled approach. This is why I have tremendous respect for Justin Amash, even though I disagree with him politically on almost every single issue. He's at least principled and he at least understands the importance of doing the right thing as opposed to looking out for himself and only himself.
And look, he's getting punished for it.
Yeah.
And so now he's not in the Republican Party anymore. He has a Republican challenger in a primary that now has a lead on him, etc. But whether he loses or wins, at least he could walk out saying, I was a man, I had principles, and I live by them. Can Kevin McCarthy and all these other sniveling Republicans do that? Lindsey Graham, remember, if you're outraged that we're calling Trump racist, first of all, he's given us no outs. He's given it, like, I don't want to get back into that conversation, but he keeps saying over the top outrageous things. Okay, but remember, Lindsey Graham called him racist back in the Republican primaries. Lindsey Graham, the Republican from South Carolina, the sniveling guy you just saw.
I told him to go to hell.
Yeah,
in 2015 over his racism.
He said he's racist, he's xenophobic, he's bigoted.
Yep.
Okay, he said all those things. Now he's trying to start a war with Iran and Venezuela, so he needs Donald Trump to start the war. So he's like, hey, that. And of course, he's got his own race in South Carolina he's worried about. So he needs to kiss Donald Trump's ass. They're pathetic. So he's like, oh, Donald, it's okay, Donald. God damn, that's so pathetic and sad.
Well, I think it goes without saying, we stand with Representative Omar and always will. She's incredibly brave and courageous considering everything that's happening right now. She continues to fight, she continues to keep her composure. I mean, she's an incredible woman. and we need to protect her. And when I say protect her, I mean against these rabid right-wingers that want to do harm to her. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, someone implied that I'm racist in regard to a story we did yesterday. So we're gonna. And
it was a Democrat.
It was a Democrat. Yes.
And I'm telling you, man. All right, I'll save it for when we come back. But
bad, very bad.
Yeah, we're gonna say things people are not going to like in Washington when we return.